Hello, my dear friends. You're welcome on our channel. In this video, we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates too. So let's start. 5 people wounded, including 1 child, as a result of drone strike at the bus Sumy-Bilopilia. A Russian drone strike hit a passenger bus traveling the Sumy-Bilopilia route, wounding at least 5 people, including 1 child. The attack occurred around 4:50 p.m. near the Mykolaiivka rural community in Sumy region. Authorities confirmed that the vehicle was directly targeted by a drone, resulting in serious injuries to a minor and several adults, one of whom is in critical condition. The bus was completely burned out from the strike, and emergency services treated and evacuated victims from the scene. Local officials stressed that due to the area's status as a high-risk zone for drone attacks, passenger buses are normally required to take alternative, safer routes. An investigation into the incident as a war crime is underway. The strike highlights ongoing Russian attacks on civilian infrastructure and transport in Ukrainian regions near the front lines. Number of injured as a result of drone strike in Sumy district has increased to 10, including 2 children. The number of injured as a result of the Russian drone strike on the Sumy-Bilopilia bus has increased to 10, including 2 children. The attack occurred near Mykolaiivka in Sumy district and caused serious injuries to both adults and minors, with at least 1 person reportedly in critical condition. Emergency services continue to provide medical aid and support, while local authorities confirm the incident is under investigation as a war crime targeting civilian transportation. The bus was destroyed in the strike and all wounded have been evacuated for treatment. Russia launched 100 strike drones overnight. Ukrainian Air Forces. Overnight, Russia launched a massive drone attack on Ukraine, deploying 100 strike drones from multiple directions, including Kursk, Oryol, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk. The Ukrainian Air Force reported that air defense units managed to shoot down or suppress 66 of the drones, but the remaining 34 managed to get through, striking targets in 9 regions. The attacks primarily targeted energy infrastructure and civilian sites, resulting in power outages, property damage, and fires in areas such as Sumy, Odessa, Chernihiv, and Poltava regions. In the Sumy region, drone debris and strikes knocked out electricity in some communities, and at least 1 major fire was reported in a warehouse facility. Despite the barrage, Ukrainian authorities did not immediately report casualties, but emergency services continue to assess the full impact. The Ukrainian military emphasized that the drones included Shahed and Gerbera types, and that defensive efforts were coordinated across several Air Force sectors to maximize interception rates. Residents were urged to remain in shelters during the attacks, and recovery efforts were launched quickly to restore disrupted power and communication services. Explosion was reported in Sumy. On October 27, a series of explosions were reported in the city of Konotop, Sumy region, with 6 blasts heard in the morning and additional explosions during the night, attributed to repeated Russian drone attacks. The attacks triggered air raid alerts not only in Sumy but also in nearby Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kharkiv regions, reflecting persistent Russian strikes targeting multiple northern Ukrainian regions. Emergency services responded swiftly, although detailed casualty or damage reports remain limited as investigations continue. The repeated drone strikes in Sumy underscore the ongoing intensity of Russian attacks close to the Ukrainian border. Dam of Belgorod water reservoir leaking after shelling with missiles. The dam of the Belgorod water reservoir began leaking after a missile and drone attack on October 25, reportedly carried out by Ukrainian forces. The strike caused significant structural damage, and water levels dropped by more than 1 meter in the immediate aftermath. Russian emergency services and local authorities have issued voluntary evacuation orders for dozens of villages and city districts, warning that further strikes could lead to catastrophic flooding along the river floodplain and threaten more than 1,000 residents. The flooding downstream is visible on satellite imagery, with Russian defensive positions, trenches, and logistics routes impacted by the sudden surge of water. Military reporting indicates that 4 Russian brigades deployed near Vovchansk and Shebekino are at risk. Russian officials emphasize that unless further damage occurs, the main threat is localized, but additional attacks could compromise the dam's integrity and lead to much wider evacuation needs. One person wounded by debris of the glide bomb that was shot down over Kryvyi Rih. Russian forces launched a guided glide bomb strike, KAB, against Kryvyi Rih on October 25, damaging an industrial facility and injuring 1 person, according to the city's mayor, Oleksandr Vilkul. The bomb was intercepted by Ukrainian air defenses, but fragments caused damage and the injury within a residential area. The fire caused by the strike was quickly extinguished with emergency services responding promptly. This strike is part of ongoing long-range glide bomb attacks carried out by Russia against Ukrainian cities, which have recently included Mykolaiv, Poltava, and Lozova, showcasing a troubling increase in the use of these advanced munitions. These weapons are capable of reaching deep into Ukraine's territory, targeting civilian areas and infrastructure, raising concerns about escalating risks for civilian casualties and property damage. At Huliai direction clashes yesterday near Malinivka and Zeleny Hay, General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine reports. Clashes intensified yesterday in the Huliai direction near Malinivka and Zeleny Hay, with Ukrainian forces engaging Russian troops who attempted ground attacks supported by artillery fire. Ukrainian defenders successfully held the line in these settlements despite continuous pressure, maintaining control over these strategically significant areas on the Zaporizhia front. These clashes are part of an ongoing series of engagements in the region, amid persistent Russian attempts to disrupt Ukrainian defenses and logistics. The fighting remains active and contested, reflecting the broader intensity of hostilities in southeastern Ukraine. At Orikhiv direction clashes yesterday near Kamyanske, Novoandriivka, Stepov, and Stepnohirsk, General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine reports. Yesterday, in the Orikhiv direction, Ukrainian forces repelled 5 separate Russian attacks targeting positions near Kamyanske, Novoandriivka, Stepove, and Stepnohirsk. Russian troops used artillery and airstrikes, especially on Stepnohirsk, Veselyanka, and Novoyakovlivka, in attempts to soften defenses before their ground assaults. Despite these waves of attacks, Ukrainian defenders maintained their positions and inflicted heavy losses on Russian personnel and equipment. The Russian army's increasing use of guided aerial bombs and intensive shelling also caused damage to civilian infrastructure and contributed to the intensity of fighting in this sector. Overall, the region saw intense clashes alongside significant Russian casualties in armor and drones, reinforcing the significance of Orikhiv as a focal point of the frontline battles. At Kursk and North Slobozansky Sumy direction, Ukrainian forces have repelled 1 Russian army assault, General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine reports. Ukrainian forces successfully repelled a Russian army assault in the Kursk and North Slobozansky Sumy directions yesterday. Russian troops launched 1 airstrike, dropped multiple guided bombs, and conducted 74 artillery shellings, including strikes from rocket systems on Ukrainian border settlements, but were unable to achieve a breakthrough. The region remains under regular attack, with Ukrainian defenders maintaining frontline positions and stopping Russian advances around the border and nearby towns. Civilian areas in Sumy region faced ongoing shelling, emphasizing the persistent risk for residents living near the conflict zone. Drone had crashed into residential house in Donetsk. Yesterday, in the Orikhiv direction near Kamyanske, Novoandriivka, Stepove, and Stepnohirsk, Ukrainian forces repelled 5 separate Russian assaults as part of intensified combat operations. Russian forces conducted multiple artillery strikes, airstrikes, and mechanized attacks focused on breaking through Ukrainian defenses in these settlements. Despite the intensity of the attacks, Ukrainian troops maintained strong defensive positions, inflicting heavy losses on the attacking Russian units. The region experienced around 218 artillery strikes and 7 rocket launches, targeting frontline and surrounding settlements, resulting in damage to infrastructure and power outages affecting over 760 households. Ukrainian forces also successfully intercepted and destroyed numerous Russian drones during these clashes. The fighting in this sector remains fierce and pivotal in the broader context of the Zaporizhzhia front line. Ukrainian military intelligence had destroyed a boat and other Russian military equipment in occupied Crimea with drones. Ukrainian military intelligence, specifically its special drone unit known as Ghosts, successfully destroyed multiple high-value Russian military targets in occupied Crimea using precision drone strikes. These strikes took out 3 key radar stations critical to Russia's air defense network. The 96 L6 radar from the S-400 Triumph surface-to-air missile system, a P-18 Terek radar, and a 55 ZH-6U Nebo-U radar. Additionally, a Russian BK-16 landing craft was destroyed in the operation, significantly degrading Russia's surveillance and defense capabilities in the region. The drones skillfully evaded Russian air defense missiles, marking continued advancements in Ukrainian drone warfare and targeted strikes against Russian military infrastructure in Crimea. Dam of Belgorod water reservoir was shelled once again. The dam of the Belgorod water reservoir was shelled once again recently, causing renewed concerns about potential structural damage and flooding risks in the area. This follow-up attack exacerbates the situation created by previous strikes that had already compromised the dam's integrity, leading to water leakage and threatening Russian residential settlements and military positions near the border. Local authorities have issued evacuation warnings for affected villages, and emergency services remain on high alert to manage the potential humanitarian and environmental consequences of further damage. The repeated targeting of this strategic infrastructure highlights the ongoing intensity and risks of the frontline conflict between Russian and Ukrainian forces in the Belgorod region.